February the 5th. Every year, a good year to talk about the rising stars. Of course, all the action on our air on TNT as we get a chance to look at the list for the U.S. And we've got stars aplenty, including a guy, and I heard it mentioned before on Crunch Time, I think Jared had mentioned it. Look, De'Aaron Fox got to be as improved as anybody in the league. A lot of guys that fit that category. We'll get into that in a second. Here are the others on the list. How about 19 years of age? Jaren Jackson Jr., John Collins himself, who's improved. Lonzo Ball, talked about a lot. And maybe Jarrett Allen, not enough for what he's done to improve his game under Kenny Atkinson. I want to start with Fox because, Sekou, we knew about the speed. We knew about the mind and the makeup, which was there, and the work ethic. And it kind of told you the game would get better. What has impressed you most here in year two from Fox?
I think the leadership, has been something that's really stood out about Fox, and also the tentativeness on defense. I wasn't sure he would become the defensive-minded player that he is so early in his career. When you hit a guy who can do all the things he can physically, to focus on the defensive end, in addition to pushing the pace, leading this Kings team during what's really been a revival season for them, Casey. To have those as your principles as a young player is really impressive. We don't talk about De'Aaron Fox enough, if you ask me, given the jump in his play that we've seen and what I think is an unlimited potential in terms of what he can become.
Coach, here in Atlanta, they talk about Trae Young a lot for obvious reasons, and including the choice that they made versus where they were with Doncic. Hasn't been perfect, but I know Lloyd Pierce and that staff happy with the shot selection. Again, not exactly perfect yet, but what have you seen improvement-wise? What do you like about Trae Young so far?
I like him a little bit to Baker Mayfield, the quarterback with the Cleveland Browns, because a chip on their shoulder coming in, size-wise, not what the norm is in their positions, but they come in and they command the respect of their teammates. 27 points a game in college for Trae Young. He's over 16 points a game now, not shooting the ball as well with range as he did, but that'll get better as he goes on and figures out the defenders. What I like is I didn't understand his ability to see the entire floor and make plays that I've seen him make to help his teammates become better and help win games. I'm impressed with this young man.
Something big on Trae for those who have not watched him, how often he drives and how efficiently in today's day and age. The only two who have driven more per game so far this season to the basket, Harden, DeRozan. And then it's Trae Young in that 3 spot. Thank you to all the analytics from David Griffin. All right, let's get to the world side. I stole that one. We give you this. The lineup on the world end of things, as we look at their roster, you see Ben Simmons. He clearly could end up in the All-Star game as well. So could Doncic, DeAndre Ayton, who has not been talked about a lot, maybe because of Luka. Lauri Markkanen, his continued success. Bogey out on the end as well. And this group, including Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Clippers, OG up in Toronto, and how about Cedi Osman?
That's a good group.
How about Cedi Osman? Because, look, Coach, and you get to see him a lot, obviously. This was a guy who, I think it should say something how much LeBron seemed to really enjoy playing with him and want him out on the floor. Not a lot of people even knew who he was before that, but he's taken now with these minutes his game to another level this year.
The players on the team love him. He's a fun guy. He's a keep it loose guy, but he's a guy who has a great work ethic, guy who plays hard. In fact, he played almost a little bit too hard and out of control early on, knowing that he was coming in replacing the small forward position, who was LeBron James. But since the beginning of the season, he's settled back down. He's taken a shot with more confidence. Early on, it was just 3-ball after 3-ball, and he was rushing it to get it out of his hands. Now he's more aggressive, taking it to the basket, putting it on the floor. He's a good defender. And I mentioned he's fearless. I mean, he's very, very aggressive at both ends of the floor. You got to like the improvement in Osman.
Well, I won't take this aggressively. I'm improving at it, but Rodion's Karooks.
That's
do
right.
That, see, that was good, right? You look at all of the different guys that Kenny uses and how many they can trust, and that culture, which you know, Coach, as well as anybody, presents that. But what are people who are not paying attention to this talent in Brooklyn missing so far about what you're seeing?
They're missing one of the steals of the 2018 draft is what they're missing. This is a guy whose versatility and We don't have utility players in this league, Coach, the way we used to, where that was a valued skill. Now everybody has to be a shooter. The number one priority is finding guys who can stretch the floor and knock down shots. This is a guy who has a skill set, really, that is a throwback. A guy who can run the floor, find, spaces on offense and get shots, get buckets without you ever running a play for him. He's an athletic, wing defender, which is at a premium always in this league. And when you factor in on a team like Brooklyn, where they have so many different players really at his same position, the fact that you can play him up and really play him as a 4 sometimes in a smaller lineup, to me, bodes well for Karooks, because as this Brooklyn core grows, you're going to need somebody who can fill in the gaps. And this is one of those guys who I think is going to be a perfect fit.
Sounds to me like you were describing John Havlicek. Is that going too far back?
I don't know, but I just think you got to give Sean Marks and his staff a ton of credit for identifying a guy who fits perfectly into what they're doing and then accelerating his process and getting them in the mix right away.
Another smart player, and on that side, you know about Doncic and Osman, all of these guys, great basketball IQ. That the rising stars, but what about the All-Stars? Somebody's going to get snubbed somewhere. Will the Spider go, or perhaps Rudy instead? Simmons playing both games, and spoiler alert, Russ, he'll be there.
Oh, he can! I wasn't sure if I could do that still. You good? You good? You good, Lefty? What you want to do? Yep, I got nail. I'm nail. I'm low. Here you go. Ball here. Help. We out. Get it up. Get through, yep. Here you go, ball here. Here you go, go ahead. Now you gotta get that right leg around. Get that right leg, there you go, yes. You keep doing that, you money, keep going. Hard work on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Vince Carter firing up the troops here in Atlanta during practice. He turned 42 years of age this week. 42.
It's amazing he's still playing.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and he's still in the rotation. He's still getting minutes, and he's still reasonably productive.
Still dunking.
37+% from 3, still getting dunks here and there.
No, it's pretty remarkable. Great career, and for him to still, after all these years, all that mileage, out there playing, having fun, the love of the game, being an impact in the locker room and on the court.
Y'all might be a new trendsetter, Grant, with the Atlanta Hawks. The first player, coach, broadcaster.
Yeah, no, I
think Vince,
I've done games with him. He's already done some broadcasting.
Just play like in the second quarter.
Yeah,
and go back to the
halftime, do halftime media, and then play and then coach.
During his regularly scheduled breaks, he just walks over to the table and sits down with Bob Rathman and Dominique. No, during the game, why not?
Pre and post show and halftime, and then play and then coach a little bit.
He can do that.
Yeah.
He began his NBA career before the 2 first-round picks, Kevin Huerter and Trae Young, were even born.
It's amazing. But the benefit, obviously, in Atlanta to have a guy like that, a Hall of Fame, future Hall of Famer, a guy that they might not have remembered because he was so young, but a guy that had an impact on the game, that has value, who can contribute in the locker room. His locker is sandwiched in between John Collins and Trae Young, and that's intentional by Lloyd Pierce because his experience, his professionalism, everything about him. And then on top of that, what he's still doing on the court, it's pretty remarkable.
I mean, you could talk to the guys, Trae and John Collins, I would talk to them about every, trying to absorb everything. Also longevity. What is he doing to be able to play at this level for this long? It's remarkable to have a guy like that. It's invaluable for John Collins and this entire, Hawks organization.
What can Trae Young pick up from Carter, and what have you liked about him?
Well, I think if I'm a rookie and I'm really going and asking Vince, the dog days of the NBA, my shooting percentage, what do I need to do? And I think he's turned that corner. The game against the Clippers, I thought was one of his best games. Not numbers-wise. The reason for me, Grant, was you're going up against Avery Bradley, one of the best, Patrick Beverly, and then you have Lent and the other rookie, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That, to me, the way he continuously drove the basketball, making plays in the paint. I thought it was his best game of the season.
You know, I think to Smitty's point earlier, in terms of just showing them how to take care of yourself, your longevity. You know, Trey is a smaller guy. You know, I think he working on his body. You know, as a small guy, he's going to have to be very intentional. He's going to have to be very strategic in terms of what he does, taking care of himself. Like a lot of young guys these days, you know, nutrition, training, diet, all that stuff, you know, you can get by just on talent. And now at this level, you know, he's come in and made a great impact and shown that he belongs. But do you want to be special? And what does it take to get to that level as a guy who's a smaller guy? And Vince, having been around, played with some greats, he's a great himself. I just think understanding how to, like, take care of your body, be a professional, all those things, not just for Trae Young, but for all those guys, but particularly for Trae, who's got the toughest job in a league at the point guard position where every night it's a tough matchup. So, but yeah, he's invaluable. He's been awesome, and I think he has another year left in him.
I do too.
Hawks
Player, coach,
are out
broadcast.
of town. As you probably heard, the Super Bowl is here in Atlanta this week, so not coincidentally, the Hawks are out of town on a long road trip. 7 games. They're 2-1 so far. And over his last 2 games, Trae Young has averaged 28 and 8 assists a game and shooting nearly 64% from the field. All right, well, don't forget, tomorrow night, TNT reveals the All-Star reserves in the pregame at 7 Eastern time, and then it's a high-quality doubleheader. Giannis and the Bucks taking on the Raptors. Could be a really important playoff series down the line at 8 Eastern time.
I like both of these games.
Sixers
Good games
in
right here.
Oakland.
Embiid versus Cousins. Cousins' first game in Oakland.
All kinds of good stuff. We got good stuff now as well. It's story time with Shaq, who's speaking to Roe Parrish.
'96 All-Star Game, San Antonio. This game is legendary for a number of reasons, especially for the holsterization of one David Robinson. You've gone on record a number of times. He didn't speak to you, so you contrived the story that he didn't sign your autograph. How did that story come about?
That story was early, and I made it up. He was always nice to me, but I have to be mad at somebody that dominated. And he was a nice guy, so I made it up. And I finally told him 30 years later, hey, I made that story up. He was like, yeah, I was wondering, because I always spoke to you at night stuff. But I made it up. But before that game, I'm at the crib. I'm in San Antonio, boom, boom, boom. Los Angeles Lakers, Shaquille O'Neal, boo. I'm like, y'all booing me? I was the first original big man in San Antonio. I was there way before Dave Robinson was there. I was like, okay, y'all gonna boo me. So every chance I got to score on him, I had to. So I think Penny got it, threw it to Grant. Grant gave me the bounce pass, and Dave Robinson was right there. I was like, ooh, got him. And I cocked that thing back, and I threw it down. Boom, and I looked back at Michael Jordan. He's my fraternity brother. When he gave me that sign, I just threw it up to Mike. You know, I had a pretty good game, and I thought I was getting the MVP, but that was the year that Mike came back, and they gave it to Mike.
Shaq played extremely well. I thought he was the MVP. I think he could have easily been.
When he raises that trophy, are you saying that's my trophy? What are your thoughts?
I'm saying it, but anytime they pick somebody that's better than you, you can't be mad.
So back to MJ, we know about his legendary performance and he sees the MVP, but you had a great moment in the pregame where you and MJ go one-on-one, and you kind of, we won't say kind of, you shook him up a little bit, gave him that dream shake.
A lot of people don't know about my handles. I was the first big dude to take it off the glass and go coast to coast and either make a play or throw it down. Not Giannis, not Boogie Cousins, me. I was the first one to take it down with style and class, that eye with the handles and throw it down. So Mike didn't know that. And Mike's a great defensive player, so he was there. So now I said, okay, Akeem, throw it in the bounce, get him back in. Beep, 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 beep. And the only thing that made it good is I made the shot. I made the shot. Well, turn around, baseline jumper. And I didn't know people was watching because when I made the shot, the crowd said, ooh, and ah. And it's crazy that that's still a meme today.
Is that the best all-star moment you've ever experienced?
I would say, because, even though it wasn't a real moment, it was a real moment. A little street style, a little and one, a little I had to show it to him.
Anytime is story time when Shaquille O'Neal is around.
I got to be at one of these next time. I got to see when it's taping. I want to be in the audience.
Oh, I thought you want to ask the question.
No, I just want to be in the audience.
Okay, all right.
Sitting around.
You made that pass to him when he dunks on the Admiral there. What do you remember about that game?
You know, not much. I do remember, obviously, the big deal was Michael Jordan. You know, came back the year before at the end of the season, and now a chance for all of us young guys. Shaq had played with him before, but in an all-star game, but for Penny and I to suit up and play with Michael Jordan. And this play right here, I mean, obviously jumped it off to him. You knew Shaq was capable of making a play, but I don't think anybody anticipated that play. And I'm just glad to remember that I dumped it off to him right there. And I had great sight lines in terms of great view to see that great play. And, you know, it's funny. In all-star games, you see dunks, you see plays, but when you see other all-stars react to a move or to a dunk or something like that, then you know it was special. And I think we all reacted in just complete awe.
How would you describe to younger folks out there who didn't see Shaq play in his prime, because it's been a while now, just what kind of a force he was in the early and mid-'90s?
You said it best. The force of way he dunked on David Robinson, and that's another pretty good size, big guy, 7'2", put together, and the force he dunked that one with. Imagine everybody else, especially us guards, going down there trying to double team, trying to grab a rebound. And the thing for Shaq was freakish for me was his speed and agility at that size. And when I saw that play, Grant, just to go back to it, well, you know you make those great plays. I was surprised David was trying to block a dunk in an all-star game. You don't really see that much. You see guys play hard defensively, but not trying to block dunks. And it was something I said, whoa, why did David try to do that? And that's when I said that all-star game had a little meaning for guys who are still playing a little defense.
I had the same thought that there's no way, unless we're at the end of the game in the new format now, no way anybody's going up to try to block a dunk. There, please, have your moment.
Yes.
Matador.
Take a picture.
Matador, yeah. Try to block that one.
All right, more Game Time.